Good evening, friends. Let us be still a moment, let us turn within and acknowledge the presence at the center of our being. What if the real reason most prayers never get answered is that they are not prayers at all, but our fear talking to a God we imagine is far away? Tonight, Joe Elga Aldis expertise is the real reason most prayers never get answered, not to sensationalize, but to illumine. Prayer is not persuasion. It is not telling God what to do. Prayer is communion. It is the silence in which we listen, the inner recognition that there is one presence, one power, already fulfilling itself as our life. When we stop seeking things and begin to see God, answers do not arrive as favors, they unfold as grace. Stay with me as we unmask the hidden habit that blocks true prayer and practice the simple shift from asking to awareness, from pleading to presence. If this resonates, like the video, comment the symbolic number 777 and subscribe so we can walk this way together. In just a moment, I'll reveal the quiet inner move that turns every sincere prayer from a request into a revelation. Are you ready to discover what it is? That move begins when we take our desire off things and place it upon God alone. Prayer fails when it seeks things instead of God. As long as we beg for outcomes, money, health, changed people, rescued situations, we worship effects. Effects come and go. God is cause. Effects are shadows on the wall. God is the light. When we pray for shadows, we miss the light, and the shadows keep shifting, never satisfying, never still. What is it, then, to seek God? It is to let the mind rest from outlining, to cease dictating terms to infinity, and to become inwardly quiet until we can feel the presence that precedes every form. In that quiet, we do not try to pull blessings to us. We consent to reality revealing itself. We are not trying to change the picture, we are returning to the projector. We are not pleading with a distant deity, we are yielding to the I that is here already whole. Consider how often our prayers carry fear in disguise. We say, God, give me safety, which secretly means, I believe danger is a power. We say, heal me, while enthroning disease as something real to be battled. Two powers and a tug of war in our hearts. No wonder we grow tired. True prayer begins where the belief in two powers ends. One presence, one power, one life expressing itself as all that is. When we acknowledge that, fear has nothing to cling to, and our asking relaxes into awareness. Seeking things binds us to time. Seeking God opens us to timelessness. Things demand maintenance, presence sustains itself. Things can be lost, presence is never absent. When the center of prayer shifts from acquisition to union, we discover that what we truly needed was never a thing, it was the recognition of God as the substance, law, and activity of our being. And then, curiously, forms appear in right ways and right times, not because we demanded them, but because grace takes shape according to its own order. This is not indifference to human needs, it is the only intelligent way to meet them. If you drink from the spring, you need not chase every cup. Turn within, be still, whisper nothing, wait until the current of peace announces itself, however gently. In that inner Sabbath, a different prayer arises without words. Here I am, Father, thy will is my life. Not resignation, but recognition. Not passivity, but presence doing the doing. Let us practice even nows. Withdraw your attention from the condition, from the person, from the bank account, and place it softly upon the invisible that breathes you. Notice the temptation to bargain, let it pass. Notice the impulse to outline, let it dissolve. Feel for the quiet, feel for the witness. As the heart opens, you will sense that you already have what you thought you lacked. The assurance of God itself. And from that assurance, forms a line unforced. When the desire for things subsides, love appears, love for God as God, not as a means. In that love, gratitude rises uncaused, and fear loses jurisdiction. You find yourself moved to bless rather than bargain, to witness rather than wrestle, and prayer becomes vision rather than voice in your heart. From vision, we awaken to union. True prayer is conscious union with the one presence, not a momentary mood, not a beautiful idea, but a living awareness that the eye that sees, hears, and is aware is the very life of God being itself as you. In that awareness, the sense of a private self begins to soften. You do not vanish, you are fulfilled. The branch does not cease to be a branch, it ceases to imagine it has sap of its own and rests in the vine. Conscious union is not a trance or an emotion. It is sobriety of spirit, a clear, quiet knowing that there is only one presence and one power, and that this presence is the substance, law, an activity of every harmony you will ever experience. In this union, prayer ceases to be an approach to God and becomes the recognition that there is no distance to cross. The thing for which we searched is the one that is searching, the seer seeing itself as all. You do not achieve union, you notice it. You remove the garments of thought, fear, opinion, memory, desire, and discover the naked simplicity of I am. The mind wants a method, spirit offers a yielding. Sit in receptivity. Let the inner ear turn towards silence. Not the silence of absence, but of fullness, pregnant with living guidance. Words may arise, but they are not your prayer. They are the overflow of presence recognized. In this state, you stop managing life and begin witnessing life. Questions soften, what should I do? Becomes, how is God appearing here? The answer is often not a sentence, but a shift, an ease in the chest, a lightness, an intuition to call, to wait, to step. Guidance comes without anxiety because it is the self, knowing of the one acting as you. You are not trying to make good happen, you are letting good be seen. Many confuse belief with union. Belief is of the mind, union is of being. Belief says, I accept that God exists. Union says, I am seeing by God, moving in God, breathed by God. Belief tries to use God for safety. Union reveals God as safety. Belief expects results. Union abides. And results take care of themselves in ways thought could not have engineered. Practice is simple, frequent, tender remembrance. Pause throughout the day and return to the center. Whisper within I, and let the word dissolve into awareness. Feel for the presence behind the breath, beneath the thought, preceding the need. When fear arises, do not fight it. Let it pass through the transparency of your consent to one power. When desire clamors, do not feed it, sink deeper into the satisfaction of being, and let desire reappear as direction rather than demand. As union ripens, the world quiets without your forcing it to behave. Relationships soften because you are no longer using people to complete a self you no longer believe in. Work becomes service, not striving. Health is recognized as the activity of life, not a condition to be wrestled into place. Supply is seen as the flowing of infinite self-expression, not a pile to guard. All of this is practical, yet none of it is utilitarian. You are not uniting with presence to get benefits. You are awakening to the fact that presence is the only reality, and in that reality the so-called benefits are simply naturalness appearing. You can test this in traffic, on a deadline, at a bedside. Turn from the picture to the presence, from the event to the eye that is aware of the event, and rest there until the inner witness smiles. There may be flashes at first, like sun between clouds. Welcome them. Do not chase the flash, abide in the sky. Over time, the intervals of remembrance widen, and the sense of separation that made prayer a plea becomes an old habit that no longer fits. In its place is a steady, tender intimacy. Life knowing itself where you stand, loving as you, seeing as you, answering before you ask. From that intimacy, the mode of prayer changes of itself. Silence and receptivity replace pleading and persuasion. We discover that the most eloquent prayer is often the closing of the lips and the opening of the heart. Persuasion assumes a reluctant deity and a separate petitioner. Receptivity assumes an always giving presence and a consciousness willing to receive what is already given. When you stop trying to move God, you can finally be moved by God. This silence is not a void, it is fullness without noise. In it, we lay down our tools, the arguments, the bargains, even the pious phrases we hoped would nudge the infinite, and we become as a still lake, able to mirror the sky. Affirmations have their place as reminders, but when used as levers to shift the universe, they harden into noise. Receptivity is softer and truer, a yielded attention, an unclenched soul, a listening more than a talking. You will feel the difference. Pleading has tension in it, a lean forward, a subtle strain in the chest. Receptivity sits back within, breathes and allows. Pleading tries to edit reality, receptivity beholds reality. Pleading counts minutes and measures results. Receptivity abides and witnesses unfoldment. Persuasion secretly assumes two powers to wrestle with. Receptivity rests in one power, revealing its own harmony. Practice it simply. Pause and let the mind come home to the breath, not to manipulate breathing, but to notice the presence breathing you. Let the inner ear tilt toward quiet. Do not chase silence, invite it by becoming uncomplicated. If thoughts insist, neither fight nor follow them. Let them pass like birds across a vast sky and return to the fathomless space that notices them. If you need a word, let it be a light one. Here or I, then let even that sink into wordless being. In that space, subtle communications arrive. Not always sentences, often qualities, a deep ease, a softening, a clarity without reasons. You may feel moved to call someone, to wait until noon, to forgive, to rest, to go. These are not products of worry, they are the effortless directives of the one acting as you. Because you did not persuade, there is no aftertaste of strain, only a rightness that carries its own assurance. Understand what you are refusing. When you refuse persuasion, you are refusing to declare lack, to certify fear, to enthrone a problem by giving it your devotional energy. You do not ignore appearances, you deprive them of authority. You do not deny facts, you deny their ultimacy. You take your stand in the invisible and let the visible reconfigure as it must. The silence is your sanctuary and your workshop, though in truth no work is done there but consent. Bring this into the ordinary scenes of your day. When a conversation heats, lower the inner volume and listen for the presence between words before you reply. In traffic, become the spaciousness in which horns sound without offense. At the bedside, resist the urge to fix. Turn softly to the life living itself and abide until peace becomes palpable. 1 minute of true receptivity will do more than an hour of anxious petition. If fear suggests that silence is inactivity, notice that the opposite is true. Pleading often stalls action by looping in the same thoughts, while receptivity releases the precise movement needed in the moment. It is the musician's rest that makes the phrase beautiful, the gardener's open soil that receives the seed, the sailor's trimmed sail that catches the wind. Your part is the trim, the openness, the listening. The wind has never ceased to blow. Over time, this becomes a holy reflex. The mind begins to turn first to quiet rather than to questions, first to presence rather than to plans. Words, when they come, are fewer and cleaner without the sticky residue of self-will. The heart learns the sacred art of waiting without worry, and solutions arise with a grace that needs no defense. That grace exposes the last illusion: separation. So long as we feel apart from the source, we pray as beggars. The moment we recognize union, prayer becomes the quiet of an heir in the Father's house. The beggar asks based on lack, the heir abides in fullness, and witnesses supply take form without pleading. Separation is not a fact but a feeling. It is an interpretation the mind learned by comparing, fearing, remembering. The remedy isn't to improve the self that feels separate. It is to relinquish the belief that there is a self apart from the one. When the sense of me trying to reach God dissolves, what remains is God being itself as this very awareness. Stop praying as a beggar does not mean becoming arrogant. It means retiring the inner posture that says, I am outside, I must earn, I must convince. True humility is radical consent to the already present presence. It bows, not to a distant monarch, but to the indwelling I am, and in that bowing discovers dignity not derived from circumstances. Try this shift in language. Replace God give me with Father. Reveal or Spirit, make Thyself known here as what is needed. Move from demand to disclosure, from acquisition to recognition. You are not requesting what is absent, you are inviting the unveiling of what is. When a bill looms, the beggar consciousness rushes to calculate, agonize, and implore. The sun consciousness turns inward, acknowledges one substance, and rests until direction appears. Perhaps a call, an idea, an honest conversation, a timely restraint. When health is threatened, the beggar fights an enemy. The heir beholds life as the only law and follows the quiet leadings that honor life without fear. Begging multiplies images of two powers, problem and God, negotiating terms. Union erases the negotiation by removing the second power. You do not deny appearances, you deny them the throne. You enthrone the invisible by steady recognition, and the forms arrange themselves according to that recognition. Let your practice be simple and embodied. 2 or 3 times a day, stop, place attention gently in the heart center, and notice that you are noticed. There is awareness aware of you. Whisper if words help, "Here I am," then listen. Allow gratitude to rise, not for things, but for presence itself. Stand, sit, or walk as one already home, already held. In relationship, end the beggar's prayer that others validate or change to save your peace. See the Christ, the presence where their personality seems to be. Bless silently. Speak from quiet when moved, and leave room for grace to educate both hearts. This removes the hidden idolatry of making other people your source. Signs you are leaving beggarhood include fewer bargains and more beholding, fewer emergency rituals and more restful remembrance, less urgency to fix and more availability to be used. There is a natural poise, a sufficiency without boasting, a readiness to give because nothing real can be lost. The cup is no longer thrust outward, it overflows of itself. The mind may protest, but what about responsibility? Responsibility deepens here. It becomes responsibility, the capacity to respond from presence rather than panic. Actions become cleaner, words kinder, decisions quieter and more exact, because they rise from the center, where there is no separateness to defend, only the one acting as you. And because the one acts without strain, the habit of sketching the future loosens. We stop trying to choreograph life and retire the old compulsion to specify who, what, when, where, and how. Don't outline outcomes, let grace reveal itself. Outlining is the ego's attempt to manage infinity with a shopping list. It takes the living flow of the infinite invisible and reduces it to an itinerary, then calls the itinerary faith. Real faith releases the pen, opens the hand, and consents to unfoldment. Outlining blocks vision because it worships means instead of source. It assumes that good can arrive only in the shapes we prefer and on the schedule we approve. But grace is not a delivery service. It is the presence being itself as order, harmony, direction. When you outline, you bind your awareness to a particular picture. When you consent, you free awareness to behold the perfect pattern already present, awaiting recognition. The oak is in the acorn. You need not paste leaves to it. Provide light, water, and room, and it reveals what it has always been. Practice the language of revelation, not demand. Instead of, "Give me this job at that company," turn within and say, "Father, reveal right activity. Unfold the place where I naturally serve and am served." Instead of, "Make this person love me," rest in, "Reveal thy love here." Let relationship appear as its true form. Instead of, "Remove this symptom now," abide in, "Let life show itself as wholeness and lead me in wise steps." You are not shrinking desire, you are purifying it, translating it from outcome to reality. How do you recognize grace's revealing? By its signature of peace. A next step appears without strain. The mind is quiet enough to notice a nudge that wasn't on your list, a call to make, a door to close gently, a pause that prevents haste from making another problem to solve. The guidance is often precise about the next inch, not the next mile. That is enough. Manna comes in daily portions, trust is the basket. Do not confuse non-outlining with passivity. It is the most alive responsiveness. When you release your picture, you become available to the exact action love asks for. Sometimes bold, sometimes still, sometimes creative, sometimes corrective. You are working from the center instead of working the center. Actions born of grace carry their own atmosphere. Even if they challenge, they do not bruise. Even if they wait, they do not wither. Watch for the subtle temptation to spiritualize, outlining, vision boards baptized with sacred phrases, affirmations used as levers, detailed prayers ending in, "If it be thy will," while the heart clenches the outcome. Be kind to that impulse and let it open. Replace it with a cleaner consent. I release opinion and make room for the highest. Surprise me with thy ways. This invitation dislodges the hidden fear that God might forget you unless you micromanage. The forgetter here is the ego. The presence never loses track of itself. When outcomes are not idolized, so-called delays become preparations, and what you once named failure is revealed as guidance by another name. The wrong door closing stops being a drama and becomes a mercy. Synchronicities increase, not because the universe is suddenly friendly, but because your attention is finally friendly to the universe. You are not forcing alignment, you are discovering it. Let this become a rhythm. Notice the grasp, soften the grasp, ask for revelation, listen for the quiet directive, take the one clear step, and refuse to rehearse the rest. The harvest will not be of your arranging, it will be of your consenting, and in that harvest you recognize the quiet genius of a life that knows how to be itself as your good without your outlines. It is consenting that ripens into stillness. Live in inner stillness until awareness answers. Stillness is not a pause between efforts, it is the altar where effort ends and God is known. Here the mind lays down its explanations and the heart opens without agenda. You do not sit to manufacture a feeling or to magnetize events. You sit to recognize the one already present, the I that precedes every thought and outlasts every circumstance. Until awareness answers means we wait for the answer of being, not merely an answer of words. Many times the response will be a quality rather than a sentence, a soft assurance, a loosening in the chest, a clarity that bears its own authority. Sometimes it comes as a simple next inch, call, rest, apologize, refrain. Sometimes it appears outwardly as the phone rings at the right moment, or a door closes kindly so the right door can be seen. And sometimes the answer is the dissolution of the very question, replaced by a quiet joy that renders the problem weightless. How to enter this stillness? Begin gently morning and evening, sit with spine easy, attention soft, and let the breath be as it is. Notice you are noticed. Awareness aware of itself as you. If a word helps, use a light one farther, or hear, letting it fade into silence like a bell whose tone lingers after the strike. Avoid forcing quiet. Become willing, simple, available. Thoughts will come. Neither chase them nor fight them. Let them pass as clouds while you rest as the sky. Bring a little scripture or principle to the threshold if you like. One presence, one power. And then put even that on the altar and wait. The realization is not in the phrase, it is in the presence the phrase points to. When fear knocks, greet it with recognition. You have no power apart from God. When desire tugs, bless it and let it be translated into direction. The interior posture is one of holy listening, free of clocks and bargains. Carry this stillness into the day by sprinkling it like seed. Before you answer the message, pause for one breath and return to I. Before you spend, decide, or defend, let the inner tide turn to quiet and ask, reveal thy way here. In conflict, lower the inner volume and attend to the space between words. Often the answer is to wait 5 more seconds and let peace speak before you do. In fatigue, close your eyes for a minute and consent to be carried. These small remembrances accumulate into a current that guides without strain. You will learn to discern the signature of the true answer. The voice of fear is urgent, loud and impatient. The answer of awareness is calm, exact, and needs no sales pitch. Fear demands guarantees, awareness confers rightness. Fear insists on the whole map, awareness gives the next step and the peace to take it. When you are unsure, return to stillness, not as a tactic but as home, and let the wheat separate from the chaff by itself. Dryness will visit. Sit anyway. Apparent silence is not absence, it is deep work without drama. Roots thickening beneath the soil. Do not measure your prayer by sensations, measure it by the ease with which you bless, forgive, release. If agitation resurges, sit again, or take a quiet walk with the name in your heart. Let the day be punctuated by these discreet sabbaths until the line between meditation and living blurs. Over time, stillness will no longer be something you enter, it will be the atmosphere you notice you never left. Decisions refine into simple obediences. Creativity emerges unforced. Help arrives as if scheduled by another. You find yourself speaking fewer words with greater weight, moving less and accomplishing more. Not by might nor by power, but because the answer has taken up residence as your very awareness,